Yes, so she's a Oya joining us from Dubai, and she's also a children book writer. So that's the most fascinating for me. She's the manager of the Center for Responsible Business at Dubai Chambers. She has over 18 years of experience. She leads a strategic initiative to advancing the circular and green economy in support of companies integrating social and economic and environmental sustainability into their growth strategy. She worked closely with the private sector foster a strong culture for responsible businesses because I think that the culture is very important in making those transitions that we are talking about. She also an entrepreneur, co-founded a startup. Um, but I think that having her bring us the experience of a country that economy is all dependent and still made the choice to diversify their economy to green energy. So I think it's a very interesting take on this transition and how we are going to promote green energy even in countries where the economy and is highly dependent on oil. Thank you so much. So I'm going to leave you the floor.
Thank you very much, Carlene, for the introduction. From my end, I'm going to present, let's say, from a macro level to a micro level personal experience when it comes to clean energy adoption in the United Arab Emirates. Dubai is usually known as sometimes they consider it as a country, but in fact, it is a city within a country, which is the United Arab Emirates. So it's a pleasure to be here. I've graduated from Georgetown University just last year, so I'm quite fresh out of the oven, and I know many of you have already have graduated a while back, and I hope I will be able to keep the legacy going when it comes to the amazing achievements my Hoya alumni have been doing in the past, let's say, hundreds of years. So today I'll basically share insights on how the UAE is advancing in its clean energy ambitions. As Carlene mentioned, we do have a lot of dependency when it comes to fossil fuel, but I'll explain why we are transitioning towards clean energy in the past few years now. So we look at clean energy as opportunity that supports businesses and entrepreneurs in many ways. I will be sharing some practical lessons from my work and my role as the head of the Center for Responsible Business at Dubai Chambers. So over the past decade, the UAE has translated global frameworks such as the Paris Agreement and the Sustainable Development Goals into national policies that support economic growth. We've selected amongst the Sustainable Development Goals what we saw would be relevant for the country. And we have a national committee that is cascading actions across the country to ensure that we try our best to implement as many of the goals as possible and hopefully achieve them as from what we've set at the start. We've also hosted COP28 in 2023. So since then, we've been committed to many actions when it comes to climate change or fighting climate change or trying to slow it down as much as possible. And as Carlene mentioned, we rely a lot on fossil fuel, but as fossil fuel reserves decline, our continued reliance on traditional energy sources not only accelerates climate change, we've seen that we cannot rely on fossil fuel forever. And we know that businesses will not be able to sustain its activities if we support that for the longest period. We also noticed that a lot of economic and geopolitical risks are there when it comes to relying on one source of energy. And also at the same time, as our population is increasing, our demand for food and water is increasing, and our consumption patterns are changing. We're increasing climate stress, and this is causing a lot of pressure when it comes to the utilization of energy systems. This global context has reinforced the need for diversification and long-term energy security. In response, clean energy has been embedded at the core of the country's long-term economic strategy, and I'll show you how. So, UAE Vision 2031 was set to direct for building a diversified, knowledge-based, and future-ready economy. While then we also set up UAE Net Zero strategy by 2050. This initiative provides a clear and credible pathway for decarbonization. Together, we put them together as a national strategy to offer long-term policy clarity and strategic continuity. This would help to enable both private and public sectors to plan and invest with confidence. Now, what distinguishes the UAE's approach is its pragmatic and diversified energy mix, distinguished to balance decarbonization with reliability. To drill this down even further, the country is scaling large-scale renewable energy, particularly in solar energy, through initiatives such as the Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum Solar Park, and this is considered one of the largest single-site solar projects in the world so far. And we are expanding further by installing more and more solar panels in the space that we've allocated for in this park. We also have an innovation-driven initiative to complement our renewable energy projects. We have Masdar City that functions as a living laboratory for clean technologies, smart grids, and low carbon urban development. If you're a researcher that you're interested in exploring further on ways to, let's say, reuse certain waste in order to generate energy out of it, or utilizing solar energy to increase the amount of energy productivity, Masdar City opens that space for you to be able to explore that, to do more research, and there's a huge team that is able to support you in that here. These efforts are also reinforced by nuclear energy, which is under the category of clean energy. We have the Baraka nuclear power plant that supplies large-scale zero-carbon electricity around the clock. 1 year after reaching its full operations, following its construction, it now supplies 25% of the country's electricity needs and contributes to reducing the country's annual emissions by 22.4 million tons. So far, based on the existing data that we've managed to capture. So together, both solar and nuclear we consider them as a stable and resilient energy system. Hopefully, they allow us to utilize these renewables and utilize these technologies and maintain the grid reliability and energy security at the same time. Now, the UAE government is also laying the groundwork for clean energy adoption by communities and businesses through practical infrastructure and innovation. Now, going a little bit down there, first, we have EV charging infrastructure that is expanding across the country, enabling fleets such as taxis and delivery services to transition to electric vehicles, reducing operational costs and improving efficiency. Second, we have distributed solar policies around that allow businesses to install on-site solar PV systems. They used to not be allowed for a while, and then now we're having policies that are being put in place to allow more businesses to utilize renewables in their plants. This helps these businesses to meet their energy demand while lowering expenses and emissions. I will give an example in a bit on one of the policies that have been put out there in the city of Dubai. And the third thing we have done is innovation hubs. So we have innovation hubs like Masdar City. We have other hubs in other emirates within the United Arab Emirates that have established smart grid pilot projects, and they provide platforms to test and scale various types of technologies and clean energy solutions for both businesses and communities. So why does this matter for businesses? Why are we relying on business? Well, the UAE is considered a desert country. And one of the elements that, or one of the things that we thrive on is tourism and businesses. And also, given that we are located in the Middle East, it's easy to, when it comes to logistics, to exchange materials, imports, exports, and so on and so forth. So, building on this national direction for the country, the implications for businesses are already clear. Now, businesses are starting to see that clean energy is no longer viewed as an environmental concern. We're seeing more mature businesses setting this as their strategy. They see that utilizing or becoming more efficient is one of their core commercial consideration. They see that it's directly linked to cost stability for their businesses. It helps in operational resilience. It also helps in access to capital and long-term competitiveness, especially when they have other peer businesses operating alongside them in the same country. So across sectors, companies are moving away from treating sustainability as a nice to have, as it's been called corporate social responsibility, philanthropy, and all of that. We still do have them, but they're moving more towards ESG-driven approach or data-driven approach. They look at clean energy as increasingly, or they actually embed clean energy more within their core operations. In the UAE, we have long-term policy clarity under the Vision 2031, as I explained, and the Net Zero 2050 strategic initiative. These two provide the predictability that our businesses need in order to plan what they need to plan when it comes to their sustainability strategy. Having these initiatives also provide businesses with the opportunity to invest and scale with confidence. A diversified and reliability focused energy system helps companies stabilize their energy costs, reduce exposure to global price volatility, and secure access to low carbon power for their operations. As a result, the UAE has become increasingly attractive to global investors and multinational companies, many of whom now integrate ESG performance and decarbonization pathways into investment and procurement decisions. For businesses operating in the UAE, and me as like Eman, I'm responsible in advocating for sustainability within the business in Dubai. Encouraging businesses to adopt clean energy is very important for them to help meeting their minimum needs. It is about future-proofing their operations and maintaining access to global markets, as well as aligning with the direction of capital regulation and customer expectations. Now, to translate this strategy, I mentioned that I would be mentioning one of the policies that we've set during COP28 in 2023. The city of Dubai has introduced the industry-friendly power policy to support the objectives of Dubai's economic agenda. We call it D33 in short. This agenda aims to double the size of Dubai's economy by 2033 and strengthen its position among the world's top 3 global cities. To do so, we want the policy to help 3 business sectors, including the manufacturers, the data centers, and the agri-tech companies, where the policy allows them to deploy the full solar PV systems to meet their full energy demands. Previously, on-site power generation was subject to production caps. They used to be capped at a certain amount of energy for those factories, those manufacturers, and data centers to use. But now this limit has been removed in order to encourage them to use more renewables. By enabling businesses to reduce energy costs while transitioning to cleaner energy mix, this policy aims to turn sustainability from a high-level ambition into an actual tangible practice or a business advantage. This serves as a strong example of how city-level initiatives can empower private sector action on clean energy while complementing the national or overall UAE strategy. So entrepreneurship is one of the core pillars of the UAE's transition to clean, innovative, and diversified economy. We don't only focus on the giants and the multinationals. We have initiatives such as the Future 100, which was led by the UAE Ministry of Economy. They highlighted a number of local talent and creativity-driven solutions that strengthen the country's competitiveness and future readiness. Among these innovators are startups and scale-ups that are delivering energy efficiency and clean energy solutions. We have a company called Salumi, for example. It is a UAE-based automotive technology startup that pioneers and develops the state-of-the-art electric motorcycles and smart energy solutions. So they're providing more. We're sourcing more UAE-based products through this company. Rebus is another company that has a state-of-the-art hydrogen station that enhances combustion engine performance, and it reduces carbon emissions by up to 70%, and as well as reduces fuel consumption by 30% using 100% clean energy process. And the third example here is Circa Biotech, is a biotechnology company that upcycles waste into resources that support renewable energy. They transform food waste into sustainable aviation fuel food stock. So these are three examples amongst many of entrepreneurs and startups that have pioneered and have been supported by the government to boost their businesses further. Moving on is me. I'd like to close with a brief personal reflection from my role as the manager of the Center for Responsible Business at Dubai Chambers. I've worked in Dubai Chambers for over 16 years now, and I've had a lot of experience before that in the construction and healthcare industries. When it comes to Dubai Chambers, our mission mainly is to support, or the mission of the center is to support and influence businesses in adopting sustainable practices, including clean energy. We do this by sharing best practices and, most importantly, enabling implementation. We also believe in leading by example. So our headquarters, as you see here in the building, the image on the right, it has been certified as a LEED green building for existing buildings back in 2009. We've received LEED Platinum certification in 2013, and since then we've maintained the LEED Platinum certification until today. But our sustainability journey began much earlier than that, maybe when most of us were still in kindergarten. I mean, as far back as in 1995. We started with small, low-cost energy and water efficiency measures. Over time, these early successes allowed us in getting enough budget to help in renovating our building with better technologies to support our sustainability journey. So that includes solar panels and wind turbines. So the image on the right, you will see solar panels on top of our multi-story parking, which is attached to our headquarters. On the left side, you might see them. They're quite small. I'll try to mark them with a pen. These are wind turbines, actually, that they don't generate, let's say, the same amount of energy as our solar panels, but we've set them up as icons for other businesses to see, like to learn from our best practice, and hopefully they can do it or they can be innovative with their own solutions. And we focused first on practical operational improvements. Back in 1995, we wouldn't get a budget for any like sustainable renovation. So when we needed to replace a light bulb, we replaced them with energy efficient ones with LEDs. And when we got an additional budget, we've installed sensors and smart web-based controls for lighting and air conditioning. For our chillers, for example, which consume the most amount of energy in our building, we improved insulation, we optimized water circulation, and we selectively shut down units. We used to have 8 chillers. We shut down 5 of them. We only needed 3 when we enhanced the efficiency of those 3 chillers. So by carefully tracking every initiative, we were able to quantify the impact of our savings. Over a 10 years period, we saved approximately 25.9 million kilowatt hour of electricity and 41.5 million gallons of water. This is equivalent to the annual electricity consumption of over 800 UAE households and water consumption of over 300 households. And this resulted in more than 1.9 million in $1.9 million in cost savings. And this journey continues as we further enhance the efficiency of our building. We're further gaining a lot of savings out of these initiatives. So our experience reinforces a simple but powerful lesson. The lesson that we want to share with the community is that sustainability is not only about large investments. You can do it with minor investments and lead by example. Thank you so very much.